sensitive subject. Mental health.
You don't just wake up and go, I'm having a bad mental health day, necessarily. Sometimes you could be in a pattern for a couple of weeks.
If you could kind of put sleep in pill form as a supplement, it would be illegal. It's that good for you.
The coaching I had in the beginning stages eroded any bad habits I could have picked up easily.
A chaotic head, there's stuff going around, and the one and only thing that puts me at peace is focusing on drawing.
You know, I've been through transformations myself where I've been 100 kilos, now I'm 80. And even at 100 kilos, I'm thinking I'm still small.
Don't aim for perfection, but I think the same word applies when you look at like striving for the best.
Put down the phone. If you're not being productive and your mind's spiraling and you're in a mental fog and these things, your brain is just too overstimulated.
Those dark days when you're going through what you're going through, whether it's eczema, asthma or something else, there'll always be light at the end of the tunnel, and you have to make sure that you get through it.
Hello and welcome to the T2 Fit Talks podcast, where we aim to educate and inspire individuals to achieve their full potential. I am your host, JT, and it's November, so it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. In honour of that, we are looking at Men's Health Unpacked, 4 topics that every man should hear, and we are doing that with the male members of the T2 Fit team, and we hope you enjoy.
A lot of men today are feeling tired, low on energy, and not performing their best. And it's not just aging, it's lifestyle. In this episode, I'm joined by Ben and JT to break down the 3 biggest levers for men's health: nutrition, sleep, and stress, and how simple, consistent habits can help boost energy, balance hormones, and get you feeling stronger again. Ben, let's start with nutrition. What are the non-negotiables for men who want to support energy, recovery, and hormones through food?
I think one of the first things to address from my perspective is kind of energy, and that's energy intake. So I feel like that's going to be very much a requirement based on your goals, but finding the spot in which your nutrition is either in a deficit of calories, a maintenance of calories, or a surplus, and making sure you're not in too much of a surplus, but equally not in too much of a deficit. So being in a realm of about 10% either way is a good shout. Making sure that you're not in any kind of strict restrictive diets as well can be a terrible thing for energy, and in relation to that, hormones as well can crash in that respect. But really making sure that you've got a good calorie intake to help support what it is that your goals are, whether that's maximally achieving muscle gain, keeping in a leaner muscle gain spot, or just kind of maintaining calorie intake or body weight.
Cool. And JT, every podcast I listen to with some sort of health expert or nutritionist tells you a different perspective around how much we should be eating, what we should be eating. Without diving too deep into that, when we look at protein, especially for males, I think that's like, I would say, a buzzword that we typically always see when we speak to people around like building muscle, and we know protein is important. But how much should men really be aiming for? Is there a number you can give us that can give us a ratio based on our body weight? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think the thing around protein, it's a lot of hype, and it is probably a buzzword, but I think it's quite rightly so. It is just so important, and something that's probably just underplayed quite a lot, especially when we think about the food that is readily available to us. But when it comes down to numbers, it's very dependent on the person: muscle mass, activity level, age, that kind of stuff. But it's quite a broad one. But let's say 0.8 grams of protein per kilo of body weight, anywhere up to 2.2. Mm-hmm. That kind of 1 to 1.2 would be fantastic. Somewhere in there, typically that 100 grams per day, somewhere in and around that region would be fantastic. And again, even up to around the 200 mark. A number of people we work with hover in that 140, 160 mark. They see really good results there. But yeah, I think it's a buzzword, but I think it packs a lot of punch if you can get it right.
Yeah, 100%. So looking at nutrients, what should men focus on when it comes down to that side? So when we look at fats, carbs, supplementation, and how can they make sure they're getting enough? So when I think about supplementation myself, I focus on a couple of very simple things. But there's also on the flip side to that, when I see someone on socials who's got like a handful of like 20 pills, what is the right amount, especially as a male, when we're crossing 30, 40, what should we be looking at?
I think if you're breaking it down into percentages, I think maybe 15 to 20% is actually not a bad spot to be in terms of total calories consumed when you're looking at macronutrients or fat. But again, you get some people that fuel better on fat sources than others. Some people prefer a higher carbohydrate diet. Some people fuel better, get more energy on a higher fat diet. I think it's going to be very individual. I think there's going to be some experimentation there, but maybe working on, if you agree, like a 20% split, if you're thinking maybe 60% protein or 40% protein, depending on how high those levels are, where your calories are. And then maybe within that, fats are going to be the smallest part to play in terms of your macronutrient consumption. If you agree, that's kind of my perspective on it.
Yeah. I think with all these things, it's kind of the answer to a lot of it is it depends, is the honest answer. It really depends what it is you're looking for, who that person is, activity levels and stuff, as I mentioned earlier. And so much of it gets put on just precise numbers, and quite rightly so to a certain extent. But it's prioritising just the quality first and foremost, and actually making it a little bit simpler. Like, yeah, okay, you might be able to get to a point at some point where you go like, okay, well, I need like an extra gram here or a few grams there. But let's think about it for most of us. And we were saying when we were warming up doing this a minute ago, so far today I've had a sausage sandwich and a cookie. Like, I don't need to be worrying about like what percentage of that was that.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, I probably just need to eat something a little bit cleaner.
Yeah.
The right sources, do a bit more prep, and then that in itself is going to give me more bang for my buck than worrying about specifics. But let's be honest, I think even for us, tracking can be good. So knowing the specifics can be really helpful. I think it helps a lot of people. Actually having, it can be a pain, but I think it's something that someone should do at least once from an educational standpoint to truly understand what they're consuming. Because 9 times out of 10, if you do it properly, you're consuming way more than you think you are, probably in the wrong areas. That protein that I mentioned a second ago, getting that to a really important place, we probably actually realise I'm not eating anywhere near enough protein. That's why we constantly have this kind of hunger, craving kind of level going on. I then reach for the cookies, I've had no protein so far today, that kind of stuff. So I think a lot of it, yes, get dialed in with the numbers, track great, but quality first.
Yeah.
I also think precision is not something that everybody's really good at. Like, you couldn't be precise with, all right, you could say to somebody how much fat they're supposed to be consuming and from what sources. Precisely how much, I don't think there's many people that could be that precise unless you're like a bodybuilder, fitness, or anybody that's going to step on stage, or anybody that is really like in sort of athletic performance where their requirement is to track these things. But if you're looking at a general population person, to tell them specifically what figure is going to be very hard, but we can guide them to the right sources of better quality fats. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Just to make sure they're consuming the right stuff, but really unsure of what the quantities of those things are.
Agreed. And I think when we look at fats, carbs, even proteins, getting those as a staple are incredibly important, but it probably brings us nicely into the second part of this, which is looking at sleep and recovery, which is almost like the foundation. And sometimes we can miss steps and go like, oh, I need to get my supplementation on point. I need to make sure I've got omegas and vitamin D3. Like, all those things are obviously going to be good and impactful. But if we're not taking care of the sleep, or we're not taking care of the recovery element outside of training, especially once you get that part dialed in, the other parts, you kind of like, you're missing a few steps in order to then go like, these supplements aren't working, what's happening? And it's actually just coming back to the foundation level. So with that being said, what makes good sleep so powerful for men's health? Because it's something that I've heavily neglected on in the past, and I've definitely felt the impacts of. But I feel like sometimes as a guy, you can kind of go, yeah, I'm not tired, I'm all good, I'm soldiering through. But what is the actual benefit, and how powerful can it be?
I mean,
well, I think I'm thinking like linking into like the mental health side of things.
Yeah.
A poor amount of sleep or a lack of sleep can have a huge impact on your thought process. It can deregulate your thought process, make your mind quite foggy. I think the more sleep you have, the more clarity you have. I think the less irrational you are. So I think sleep from a mental perspective and a thought process perspective, like a really powerful thing to do. But obviously quality overrides quantity at the end of the day. So making sure that of whatever 6-8 hours you're getting, the quality is there as well.
Yeah, when it comes to sleep, definitely speaking to this guy is the one. I think he likes his sleep, quite rightly so, and protects it. I heard 2 things around sleep that will always stick with me. Not that I probably give them enough focus myself, but they always stick with me. One is protect sleep like it's your job, or something around that. It was like treat it like it's your job, and protect it at all costs, because it is so important. It is the first thing that we neglect. You know, you've got a deadline for this, you know, going out for that, whatever, and it's always the first thing that goes.
Yeah.
The other one was, if you could kind of put sleep in pill form as a supplement, it would be illegal. When it comes to like performance enhancements, is like, if you could take that, it should be illegal. It's that good for you. And if you could bottle it and you could sell it, people would make an absolute mint, because in terms of what it gives you, it's tenfold above anything else. Even if you look at it in its simplest form, that you do most of your recovery when you're asleep, and in good quality deep sleep, not just the half-assed kind of like I've nodded off for a few hours here and there, like the proper good quality stuff. And if there's a whole thing you could go into around sleep health and sleep hygiene, all that kind of good stuff, but that deep sleep is where you truly recover, reset. When you get up in the morning, you actually have full clarity, as kind of Ben was saying there. And then if you have that clarity coming into the next day, you're in a position where you make better choices, better decisions on a day-to-day basis when it comes to not just work, but getting out for steps, feeling ready to go, less sore. I won't eat that, I'll eat that. I'll prep this, I'm good to go. I saw a thing, it was like, I think 47% of men in this country right now have never, or very rarely, when they wake up in the morning, feel rested, which is insane. And I think I put myself in that to a certain degree, but I don't prioritize it enough, and should do. But yeah, sleep's huge.
Why do you think that is?
I think there's a lot of factors. So we did talk about it earlier. What could potentially be the disruptors, if you like, of good quality sleep in the evening? I think caffeine intake is going to play a huge role. We've talked about caffeine before. I think kind of thinking about a bed routine as such, maybe cutting off any sort of, and we're all guilty of this, but looking at our phones too close to bedtime, watching TV, trying to cut out blue light. I'd say that there's kind of 3 key disciplines in a healthier lifestyle. Sleep is 100% one of them. We have to be on point with nutrition. That's also a skill. And then our training, I think, is the easy part, because we can come and practically do that in a community. But I'd say the nutrition side of things, you're down to your own devices, as well as sleep being something that you have to make an effort to prioritize, and having some form of routine in place, and trying to think about all the things during the day that could be the disruptors of that. Job, stress in job, consuming too much caffeine as a result, all of those things, looking at phones, thinking about a time at which you're going to sort of put these things aside and think of some sort of bed routine that you can build your body into, to help aid in that quality of sleep, if that all makes sense.
What have you seen, JT, with things that you've put in place that have helped you improve your sleep? Setting the alarm for an hour later on.
Nightmare this morning. Goodness gracious me, probably the worst time to ask me this question. Do you know what? Right now, it's probably, in all honesty, probably not in the best place. But I know that when it has been in a really good place, it's when I just look to prioritize it more and give myself, I think Ben alluded to it there, the cut-off times of an evening, but actually having a bit more of a consistent wake up and sleep time. Those are the things that really help me. I think the bad habit that I have fallen into and have done for many years is, there's a load of stuff that goes on in the course of a day. So when you get home, potentially, if we eat late sometimes, so you're looking for like the digestion and a bit more time to chill out. But that's the bit that gets me, is I feel like I'm being robbed of my downtime and my chill time. Could be phone, could be learning to play the guitar still, that kind of stuff. And I want that little bit of respite.
Unwind time.
So I feel like, well, if I just go to bed right now, then I'm just back into the grind the next day. So I want that little bit of time for myself, and it eats into that bedtime. So I think it's just the easiest place to find it. But actually, I'm probably doing myself a disservice, and I would be better off the next day had I just gone to bed when I really should have done.
Yeah.
I think we seek comfort sometimes in those things that don't, based on what you said, because we're coming home from a hard day. There could be those things that we are actively seeking out that are being the main cause, or could be the root cause of that poor quality of sleep. And that comfort could be found in like sweet food as well, like sugary food.
I mean, that's got to be a massive one for affecting somebody's sleep. Like eating late, 100%. But then what you eat late, typically after dinner.
So I'm
That's
quite
the thing you're scrambling around for, right? You're like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, yeah.
let's
I'm
check out the
quite-
cupboard, biscuits.
100%, yeah. I'm quite in tune with my body from a nutritional perspective, and I could probably pinpoint what has disrupted my sleep, frustratingly so, because I've had those moments where, okay, I cut caffeine off at a certain point in the day. 12 o'clock is my cut-off point. I prioritise my sleep. I know my bedtime. I know my sort of routine with bed. But there's the odd occasional evening where I'm like, you know what, I'll just eat that right now. And it's that really hyper-palatable processed bit of sugar that I've been like, it's almost like I tell myself that it's not going to be an issue. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm going to bed in an hour, but I'm going to eat it.
Oh, the stories we tell ourselves.
Yeah, and
I go like, I've trained really hard today.
Yeah.
I've trained really hard. Listen, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, you just give it to, and then I'm so sensitive to it that I will wake up in the night and I'll be like, I can't get back to sleep.
Yeah.
And I know straight away that, because I can get to sleep quite quickly. I think I give myself about 15 minutes. 5 hours in, I'm awake. As a result of that, getting back to sleep is hard. So I'm lay there reading my book in bed. It's a Kindle, by the way. I don't have the lights on. But yeah, so I'm like lay there just reading for like an hour and a half, and it will be that length of time. And I'm kicking myself the next day, so I'm knackered, and I'm like, that one thing that I had just tripped me up and messed up that sleep pattern. So it's nice that I can recognise those things, but also I think it's really important that we understand what we're consuming before we go to bed. And I'd say there's also a cut-off point before your last meal and when you go to sleep. And a 2-hour window is good. And if we're looking at quality of food before bed, I'd say and encourage like good levels of micronutrition, plenty of vegetables, decent amount of fibre as a result of that, and a good lean source of protein, but trying to pull back anything that's going to spike sugar levels.
So I'll ask you both, like 3 things that if you were to try and look at improving the majority of males out there, their sleep, what would you get them to focus on of an evening to improve it? So somebody's waking up, they don't feel recovered or rested. Maybe they're not even conscious that their sleep is bad. Yeah. It's then leading into the rest of the day, them feeling a little bit like a bit tired and making bad decisions in the kitchen. Yeah. What would you say, like 3 top things that have helped you? You said, JT, a bit about the going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time. One of those being an example. What would you say the top 3 are?
Well, I kind of actually go back and just briefly touch on what Ben was saying there about, you know, the sugary stuff before bed and then waking up in the middle of the night for Ben. You create this negative loop, essentially. So let's say, obviously, that loop then starts with that sugary thing or whatever it was. Yeah. You then wake up in the middle of the night, so you won't get the good quality sleep that you wanted. You'll then feel tired the next day. So then straight away, your brain's in a position where it's seeking comfort again. Yeah. So then you're more likely to go back into the sugary treats, which then means you have that same cycle again. And it could be sugary treats. A lot of people, it's alcohol. Sometimes they even use the alcohol. I've been there myself, where you use the alcohol in the evening, like to unwind, and almost if your brain's really, really busy, to almost chill out and get better sleep. Yeah. You're not getting better sleep at all. And if anyone's questioning that, wear a whoop, because when I did that, it was ridiculous when I've had a drink. But then your sleep's disturbed, the quality's not there, and you go back into this loop. Yeah. So I'd say the first thing would be to break the loop, and like you say, have a look at that kind of sleep hygiene element, that kind of 2 to 3 hours before you are going to bed or when you should be going to bed. Try and clean that up first and foremost. The other thing would just be, we touched on it earlier, just the cleaner nutrition through the course of a day. But make it really simple, like really simple. Don't go too crazy with it to start with. Don't worry too much about the numbers, just better quality food. And the hydration I'd put in there as well, I think. And just make it really simple. Yeah. We overcomplicate this stuff just too much. Sleep well, eat well, stay hydrated. And for the most part, you're going to start to see and feel, more importantly, some kind of positive change, I would say, pretty quickly as well.
Ben, would you add anything to that?
Well, so there's 3 things that I actively use. This is something that I try to instill every night. And this is to help kind of aid that quality of sleep. So I'm like room as dark as I can possibly get it, and as cool as I can get it. No matter if it's winter or summer, I'll crack the window so I'm getting fresh air coming in. I have a shower before bed. The hotter the better, because my body has a bit of a thermal dump and cools my skin down. So it's a nice it's a nice little sort of kind of hormonal down regulation, getting ready for sleep. And I'll make sure I'm in bed, lights out, reading my Kindle for like an hour, trying to cut everything off. So those are the kind of maybe 3 or 4 things that will be a nightly consistent routine for me that I'll try and implement and keep on top of. I think it's so habitual for me now, I don't have a problem with doing it. Also, eye mask as well. Can't sleep without my eye mask. So the room's super dark, eye mask on. I wear very little in bed because, again, I like to be cool with the window open. And as a result, provided I'm not tucking into a lot of crap before I go to sleep, I get a decent night's sleep. And it's always bed at 7. I'm thinking 7 hours sleep bare minimum, 8 at top end if I can manage it.
I'm going to just add one more thing in there. Don't reach for supplementation too soon.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I would say. We're in a position right now where there's pretty much supplements for everything. And don't get me wrong, some supplements can be great. Like they really can be, and they might get blood work done and they might be deficient in certain areas, but I guarantee for the most part you can find a lot of that stuff that you would pay extortionate amounts for on a monthly basis within your food if you eat better quality. And at the moment we're surrounded by the word testosterone, and there's like T boosters flying around everywhere, and you name it. And I understand it to a certain degree, but it's again that thing where it's the easy thing to do. And some people, of course, will need to go down that road, and that's fine. But supplementation is always going to be the easy go-to. I'll just throw some money at it. I'll do this because I can take that. I can keep my daily life the same. My routine's going to be the same. I'm still stressed out, my eyeballs. I'm still sleeping really poorly. My caffeine's still going in at 5 p.m. I'm still drinking before bed. I'll get some vitamin D. Like, when you think about all the stuff we've mentioned there from a hormonal standpoint, if you get your hormone regulation correct, yes, all right, certain areas you might need some supplementation, but do the clean, simple things. It'd be very interesting to see how many supplements at that point you actually truly need.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? I think back in the day, I was the guy buying everything, like the Aura rings, the Whoop bands. I'd find everything I could to track my sleep, and I would come off them, go back on them, and actually, when I started to come off them, I was like, you know what? I don't actually think this is the right thing for people to have. But now, after using it again, for me, it's the best form of accountability. I don't know why. Everything you've just mentioned there, I know. And when I put the ring on and I know it's being tracked, it's almost like I'm wanting to do those things.
Yeah.
So I almost think as like a little hack, not because you spent money on it, but actually just because when you wake up, there's going to be an answer to the data of the thing that you did from the day before.
But that's also teaching you something, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're developing a skill from it, whether you wear it for the rest of your life or not. You're getting like that idea of what is going on.
Yeah.
So you can be familiar with it. And you can relate that to, and I think we talked about this earlier, but when people track food, I had someone mention to me, quite a few times actually people have mentioned to me that they find it quite unhealthy for them to track food using a tracking device. I'd actually argue that it's the healthiest thing you could do, because you could say from a mental perspective, probably doesn't feel like the healthiest thing you can do, but it's a tool to teach you that skill in the short term. So all of these things, they're not there that you utilize them for life. They're like short-term things to teach you that is a process. It helps you if it's MyFitnessPal or a food tracking device or an app. It's teaching you better quality food, what to eat. It's not saying you have to use this forever. It's just an educational tool, I think, much like, but you use it, I think, as that you've got that accountability element as well. But I think if we can look at these things from an educational perspective, rather than them ruling our lives, does that make sense? Because it's only going to be a short-term fix to educate and teach the skill. So we can learn from all those metrics.
Yeah. Okay. So go into a little bit of like stress and lifestyle. How do you both manage stress personally and stay consistent? And I want a 30-second snippet from each of you.
Mine's fine.
I think when it comes to a stress thing, for me, it just comes down to two things. The one thing that used to really stress me out was just being really disorganized. Like, it was on my mind, say going to bed, all that kind of stuff. So actually diarising things, writing down a few things to kind of get it really clear what my plan is for the next day or for the week. That's something that I still need work on, but it's definitely better That's definitely one way that I manage stress. The other thing is movement. Just movement, getting steps, whatever it could be, some kind of training. I feel like I've been productive that day. That allows me to kind of just block out a lot of noise, a lot of stress. And again, I think it comes down to doing the simple things repeatedly. But on the other side of that, I think also listening to your body, and there's days and times where actually maybe that isn't the thing you need, and actually it is downtime, it is rest and recovery. So I think they'd be the main ones for me.
Love that. Ben?
Mine's not exercise related at all. I have a very chaotic head, and if
Can
I'm
I guess
at
your
home,
Can I guess your one? Is it
No,
drawing?
yeah.
that's one of them. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So definitely one of that's actually going to be my second one. But one of the things that I put in place, and it's a priority for me, is a tidy home. Like, I cannot think straight if the house is a dump. Like, if it's a mess, I feel like there's a lot of chaos going on in my head. So I have to tidy up before I can do anything. And if I'm experiencing any form of stress, one of the best things I can do is get the house tidy, and then almost that stress is 80% alleviated, and I feel better for
No, I
it.
mean, mate, if you
So-
get really stressed, just come to my house.
Literally.
Get the
Literally.
Hoover out. But the second one is drawing. Yeah, so I have, like I said, a chaotic head. There's stuff going around constantly in my mind, and the one and only thing that puts me at peace, alongside a tidy home, is focusing on drawing. And it's not like a 5-minute sketch. I spend hours doing it, and I'll do it intermittently. But if I can get any opportunity to clear my mind, tidy house, get my pencil out, and start sketching,
Love it.
rock and roll.
Guys, we'll finish on that. Thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you've
pleasure.
all gained value from that. If there's one thing that you can leave the audience with around stress and managing it, what would it be? I guess a hobby, would you say? Something that takes your mind away from the thing that you focus on a daily basis?
I definitely think a hobby is a
It's a great thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I hate to harp on about sleep so much, but again, one of the best tools for de-stressing is just.
I guess it
getting
comes back to the
loads-
beginning part, right? Getting
loads
that
of
foundation
downtime.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Anytime you've got an opportunity to shut your brain off is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Or get your pencil out.
Hey.
The fitness industry has done a great job of making men stronger, but it's also shaped how we see ourselves. Today, Luke and Harry join me to unpack body image, identity, and how we can redefine what health and confidence really looks like. Welcome, gents.
Thank you for having us.
How are we?
Good.
Feeling nervous?
Harry's first pod.
I know, yeah.
First podcast, I'm excited to be on.
Love that. Love that. This is your what, 117th?
Something like that.
Something
Yeah.
like that?
Seasoned.
Old hat now, mate.
Seasoned
Old
vet.
hat here. So look, when I think about this subject, straight away my brain goes to social media, like straight away. So how do you think social media has really changed the way that men see their bodies nowadays?
Well, I think that there's so many different kinds of fitness influencers online at the moment, and you know, everything that they're posting is so positive all the time, whether that's a six-pack, how ripped they are, whatever it is, and it's not real. And someone that's trying to get in shape, it can affect you mentally, thinking I'll never ever be able to get to that state, when realistically it is all for show.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think there's that aspect of it. And do you know what? I also think there is an element of being inspired and looking at it and going like, oh, cool. That's like, I'd love to train a bit like that. I think that has sped up the evolution of more people getting into fitness and more of the competition side. So I think there's a comparison element where, you know, you've got fitness influencers who have been training for 15 years to get to how they look. And then maybe a newbie who looks at that and goes, I'm never going to be like that. But at the same time, it also activates the person who is a newbie to go, I want to look like that guy. And that's the inspiration. I know for me, I follow people and I look at how they look and I go, I want to know what that person's doing and how they're training. So I do think it also has some positives. I think it depends on the type of person that you are and what inspires you. So if you ever get to a point where you look at a post and you go, I freaking hate that guy, probably unfollow them. But if you find, you know what, I seek inspiration from that person or I learn something from that person, I think there's some positives inside of that too. And I think nowadays with social media, there are a lot more influencers who are being more vulnerable about their journey and the challenges and the struggles.
which is also good because they're humans like all of us. They've got families, they've got jobs and other stressful factors, that you also get insight into what they're doing and how they manage those things.
How do you two personally manage that balance between kind of the aesthetics and, let's call it, just overall health?
I think it's up to you what you want out of it, really. If you're seeking inspiration and you're on a bit of a journey yourself, then following the right people will guide you in the right direction. If you're following people just for the aesthetic, then you're not really getting much value out of it. Personally, I follow people for their journey, to maybe learn something, or just because they've had an interesting journey, or they're just an interesting person. However, I think that it varies depending on what you want and what your goals are, to be honest.
Go on.
I was going to say, how many people do we show balance on social media? Let's put it that way. Like you say, different people for different reasons. And like you say, there's an inspiration element. I want to train like that person. I might want to look like that person. But when I look at social media and all the things that pop up on my feed, it's very heavily in one direction. It's very elite. It is the high rocks, tops off, washboard abs, 4% body fat. But it's heavily in that direction. Where actually, like I said, there probably is a cause for a bit more of a 50-50. Like the normal guy who just trains well, enjoys a little bit of movement and healthy eating, etc., has a family, as we said. I don't know if it's just the algorithm, who knows, but why is there not more balance, I guess, between what we're exposed to?
That's a great question. I mean, you could look at it through so many different angles. I think because the standard is so high, somebody showcasing their journey is like maybe a little bit more scary, because what most people also have got the ability to go and see at their fingertips. One thing that I do see a lot more of, though, are people showing their journey of what they looked like before and where they are now, but not enough people share the journey of them going through it. It's almost like me sharing the transformation that I've been through, and here's where I was 12 months ago. And that's a good thing, but I actually think more people being able to take their top off and train and show a workout the same way as a high rocks athlete would be a positive thing. But there is an argument to be said, like sex sells, and that potentially doesn't get as much support, especially in the UK. And I think about success in the UK. It's not really something that people go, oh, he's freaking like, well done. Look at him going in the gym and smashing it. They'd look and go, and this is just the culture, I believe, in the UK, where it's like, look at him, bless him. Like, he's got his tits out on social media doing a run. So I think there's part of that where we haven't built a culture where people want you to do well in that regard, and they'd almost make fun of you, which is why there isn't so much. So that's why you always see this is where I was, rather than let's go through this journey together. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I go straight to someone like a High Rocks, right? And I think they could potentially do a better job at promoting everyone that does a High Rocks. And the reason I say that is, whenever I see High Rocks, like you say, sex sells, right? Everyone shirts off, great shape. And that's how they promote High Rocks. The amount of people that I know when they've turned up to an actual event and they're scared and they're like, I thought I was going to be around all these elite people. Actually, they're shocked and surprised at the amount of variance there is in abilities, shapes, sizes, ages, you name it. I think that they could potentially do a much better job of promoting that kind of side of things.
Yeah.
I mean, potentially athletic. I mean, all these things could push that side a bit more, as opposed to, again, as I mentioned earlier, just showing the one side of it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think so. But I also think that could be the thing that turns like a High Rocks upside down. Maybe that's their person that they have to promote in order to be able to get the eyeballs for people to come. We come back to that like sex sells thing. I think there's definitely a category they could go after that would allow other people to feel more comfortable to go to that kind of event. But are there enough people that are looking on the outside in compared to the other people that they're currently targeting with, like, how many more eyeballs does that get? And I guess at some point that's what they're gauging success by, is what's getting more views here, and that person is getting more engagement than that person.
Yeah.
Although we want that person, the underdog, to win more, maybe doesn't get as much of the like following across the world globally. But I do see a world in which a High Rocks will eventually create different sections of it. And I think we're already seeing it with like the pros and, you know, just like different levels, and they do the same in athletics. But I think eventually there will be different barriers to that, where it might be, there are just more categories to it, which I think then they'll do a better job on promoting those individuals. Because like you said, you've got everyday people who are going to those events that when they eventually finish, they go, you know what, why was I so scared about what kind of people are going to be around? But they don't have a problem getting those people in. I guess they're relying on places like here, gyms, who are able to feed into clients and give them the confidence to go and do it.
Yeah. What do you reckon are the biggest struggles that probably aren't really spoken about that often when it comes to men in the fitness industry as a whole? Because there's got to be a number of things that we talk about, or we don't talk about, more importantly, behind the scenes. What do you think those biggest struggles really are?
I think it's just everyday life, to be honest. And people that maybe haven't been into the gym before, you know, we don't know them. They could walk through the door today and they could be struggling with anything. It could be a divorce, could be kids, could be work, and they could really be struggling mentally. And the whole point of us chatting about this is the exact reason why we're chatting about this at the moment, because I feel like it is really important that these things are spoken about, because we don't know what people are going through. And in terms of, you know, men in the gym itself, it's something that doesn't necessarily get spoken about. And especially with us at T2 Fit, the community aspect's so important, because men can chat to men and you know, women can chat to women, of course, but there could be another man in the session or another man at the gym that's going through the exact same problems. And the gym could be an escape. And although he doesn't know that yet, as soon as he has a few sessions, starts turning up, starts having that consistency, as I said before, it is an escape. And I feel like outside struggles is something that just isn't spoken about, and men use it as an escape.
Yeah.
Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So,
What do you think our roles are in the fitness industry? As men in the fitness space, in a gym, we speak to a number of people, you know, face to face, on the phones, on the gym floor, and not even just within, you know, these four walls, but just being in a coach's shoes, let's say. What is the role of a coach nowadays in helping as many men in the fitness industry as possible?
I think it's given them the vehicle that's easy enough for them to be able to maintain that lifestyle that they need in order to be able to stay in shape year round. That's obviously the goal that we always speak about, which is whatever you're doing today, we want to make sure that you can do in 365 days. So it's our job to make it simple enough, because I do think that as guys, we're all or nothing. And it's like, I want to get a six-pack in 8 weeks. I'm just going to cut carbs, not eat anything. And as a guy, some guys will do it, and they'll just go, bang, I'm all in. And then they fall off a bridge at the end. And it's like they're back to square one. So I think our role is, how can we get people, especially guys, how can we get them winning, but also not thinking about being too impatient that they want the six-pack now, or the physique that they want to get into, or the T-shirt size that they've always dreamed of being back in. So I think it's about managing the expectation for somebody coming in and trying to think about what's the long-term play, not necessarily just the short-term. Get the short-term win, but then also teeing up the next thing. And I think naturally, inherently, guys want to be challenged, they want to be pushed, and they almost want to be they want to go against the status quo, which is like, I want to over-exceed expectations. So it's giving, our role in the fitness industry, I believe, is giving the male the thing that they think they need, whilst also giving them the other thing, which might be a high rocks or something to pull them forward to continue that evolution of their journey. Because sometimes I think guys can wake up one day and go, fuck it, I'm not doing it tomorrow. I'm done with the journey. I'm too busy at work. I've got other things. I'm trying to provide for my family. I'm trying to do this. That they end up just going, you know, the thing that I'm going to cut is just my health and fitness journey. And that's the part that I think as fitness professionals we need to keep evolving and challenging guys.
But do you think someone could potentially wake up that morning and go, fuck it, I'm not doing it anymore, because what they are essentially chasing, whether they know it or not, is that shredded guy on Instagram? I'm not getting close enough to that. I'm not that guy yet. They're chasing potentially in their world something that's arguably unrealistic. Potentially.
You spoke about earlier about obviously following the same people in algorithm, and even with my feed is full of six packs and stuff that I think, you know, and you said it as well, Luke, the things that you desire, you're like, oh, that looks fucking good, love that. But that just isn't reality. It's not reality at all. And I'm sure you wake up some days and go, I can't be arsed, and, you know, I don't have the dream physique or whatnot. And that is something that is so easy to come into your mind and actually give you that block. And it is really, really hard to overcome. Yeah. But I think the only way to overcome it is just to delete social media. If I'm honest, like, social media can be used in great ways, but if you're following people with great physiques and you've gone out for 6 pints every day for the last 2 years and you've got a dad bod, as people say, there's a lot more you need to sacrifice. And it's, you know, social media is all fake. Lighting is a big factor, and having a pump is another big factor. I'm guilty of it myself. Instagram loves it. But yeah, it's honestly, I say it all the time, even to my pals. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, it is all a facade for what real life actually is, because it does put you in a dump sometimes, you know.
I'll be curious to know what the 40-year-old guy though as well, what their algorithm looks like, because we might be comparing based on what our algorithm looks like.
True.
Maybe the 40-year-old guy is actually struggling with the guy who's on social media with his 2 kids living out in Dubai, that he's got the complex where he's like, I haven't been able to do that. I haven't done that. I wish I could go and do that. I haven't been able to take my family on this holiday this year. I don't know whether that is also a big factor, that they're looking at that identity, that the guy who's maybe not got a 6-pack, but he's in a medium t-shirt, he looks confident, he's with his kids and his wife, they're at a nice restaurant. That might be the actual thing that they're comparing themselves to. And I think that's where we've got to pull our role into something that's sustainable. And it's not just what the gym does from a physique standpoint, but what it also does from you being able to show up better for your family. And I think when you cross that line of 40s, 50s, you think about your health and fitness journey differently. So from being 6-packs, I do think that most guys who are in their 40s and 50s aren't necessarily chasing that, because they're thinking that's not realistic. It can be possible, but they're thinking, you know, I just want to get from an XL to a medium, and I want to be able to go and enjoy a meal with my wife once a week, and I want to be able to take my kids away 3 times a year. That's the thing I think they're trying to optimize for. And I think that's the part that they're probably getting sucked into on social media. So I think that's also something to be said, like, even with a t-shirt on, what does the health and fitness industry do for a guy? Not with the t-shirt off. And I think that's the part that some people are going to be battling with.
Yeah, 100%. Have either of you ever struggled or dealt with, I guess, that's what I'm looking for, body image issues? And if so, how have you kind of combated that?
It's a great question, actually, because how long have we got? Because I think it to this day, to this honest day, and I think it every single day. Like, looking in the mirror, it's not good enough, and I don't know why. It probably is social media, but of course we've all heard of body dysmorphia. I think I'm the smallest guy in the room at all times, if I'm completely honest. And you know, I've been through transformations myself, where I've been 100 kilos, now I'm 80. And even at 100 kilos, I'm thinking I'm still small. Like, what's going on? I'm still small. And I've got my pals taking a piss at me, saying I'm too big. So I'm like, okay, what do? I'm losing the weight. Now, you know, now I can see a few insertions in my tricep or something, but it's still not good enough. And I know that I'm in good shape. You've told me I'm in good shape. You're in good shape. It's still not good enough. I'm still in my head all the time. And yeah, it's something that I'm trying to work on and overcome, to be completely honest, but I don't know when that day will actually come. Yeah. But that's another thing. Don't know whether it's because it's social media or my pals, my peers, people I surround myself with, but yeah, it is tough.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been through so many different evolutions of this. I mean, when I think back to the early days of me, like, getting into the health and fitness industry, I was labouring with my dad, and I remember I would take salad. I had no carbs at this point. This is when no carbs was like popular. I guess it kind of still is, but this is probably 10 years ago. No, 15 years ago. It's probably like 14, 15. So I'm on a building site. Typically, you have a break at 10, you have a break at 12, you have a break at 3, you go home at 4. And at 12, my dad loved sweet treats like donuts. If he's ever stopping off at a cafe or anything like that, he's always bringing something back in. And I'd go in there with my salad, no carbs. because I just used to think carbs were bad. And I would, no joke, have a donut if he brought one in. And I would pull my top up and check I still got a six-pack after I ate it. That was real bad. You know who turned me away from that? It was Cass. When I joined Nuffield and I started working with Cass, I used to come in and bring half a bag of rice. And he was like, mate, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm just having my rice. And he said, just put the whole bag of rice in. What are you doing? And that's when it started to change, like my mindset around food and what it actually did for me from a fuel standpoint. Strength went up, my physique changed for the better. But you know, nowadays, I come back to the t-shirt thing that I just mentioned that I think most guys probably are striving for in their 40s and 50s. I actually, as long as, whatever event that I'm training for, as long as I still look good in a medium or a large t-shirt, I'm happy. I don't care if I have abs. I don't care if I'm a bit fluffy. If I look good in a t-shirt, I feel good. Like if I walk out and I feel like, yeah, I'm expanded in the t-shirt. It feels good. It's snug. I'm not conscious of my waistline. That for me is perfect. I'm quite content with that. Even if I look in the mirror and I'm like, I'm a bit fluffy at the moment. I know that when I walk out the door, I actually feel great because I'm also training alongside it. If I wasn't training, then it would probably be a different story. Maybe that just comes with different things that you train for, that your body does just need to adapt and you learn to be okay with that. So, yeah.
Would you say that with everything going on right now, just in the world in general, obviously we're in the fitness industry, do you think we are collectively getting closer or further away from the quote-unquote ideal male physique?
That is such a great question. What is the ideal physique?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question. What is the ideal physique?
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, this is you come down to the point you made earlier. I think it's very much dependent for the person. But do you think with everything that's available to us, training standpoint, nutritional standpoint, education standpoint, you can have all the things education-wise anyway from a touch of a button, right? So with all the stuff there, do you think we are moving closer or further away from whatever that ideal physique is for that person, with all the things that are available to us in this day and age?
I think yes.
Closer or further?
I think closer.
Yeah?
I think about the people who I'm surrounded by, and a lot of those haven't been into health and fitness and now are. And they're now doing marathons, they're now doing all sorts of different things. Actually, because of what they've seen on social media too. So whether you think it's a good thing or a bad thing, because I guess you can also become obsessed because there's never enough. Mm. But I would say that we are getting closer to it. I even think about gyms that I've been to recently, which are like high-end gyms, and I see younger males between like 25 and 35. They're there on a Friday night training. When have we been in a place where the pub isn't something that you go and do on a Friday night and then have a kebab on the way home? Over the last 5 years, that's really changed and evolved, and people are more willing to invest in their health and fitness. They're happy to spend 30 quid a month on a whoop. They're happy to spend £100 a month on supplements. So I do think we're becoming more educated, and I think the likes of podcasts and other educational platforms and coaches that people are actually seeing the value in nowadays, I would say we are, you know. I would say for the better, there's a bigger population of people who are making changes for the good. What do you think?
I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll take that. I think we are. I think there's roadblocks to it, but I think overall, with everything that's available to us now, I think the mindset, the educational standpoint, I think we're getting there. And I also think it's more well-rounded as well.
Definitely. I know it's easy to grab a KFC and a McDonald's at the touch of a button, but I also think it's just as easy on Amazon now to grab the supplements, to get the sachets of the hydration, the whey. It's just as easy to get those things, which used to be like the friction point. I was like, oh, shit, I've got to go and order that stuff. I don't know where to go. People actually have a bit more clarity on what to order nowadays. Even if they order too much, it's better than not having nothing at all. Yeah. So I think even like trainers and I'm going into fashion now, but people are more willing to invest in those things because they see the value in what they feel like, what they look like when they go to the gym. It's becoming more of the night out thing. They're more obsessed about the outfit they wear to the gym, which is a good thing, than they are going to the night out the next day. They're more likely to say, when you ask them what you're up to this weekend, they're probably going to say, I've got to go to this event tomorrow night, rather than I get to train in the morning. That's probably what you're hearing more of nowadays. Mm-hmm. It's what I hear anyway. Especially somebody who has got stuck into the gym, even if it's over the last few months, you realize the difference of how well you feel. Going to do what life was like before you did that thing is completely different, and you don't want to go back to it. And I think in the next 15 to 20 years, I think it's going to be a completely different society with the way people... You're going to almost look weird if you don't go to the gym. Mm. And I think we're almost there at the moment, but you're going to be the person, it's like, what gym membership you at? not what you're doing over the weekend or what you're doing Friday night. I think it's going to become that hub that you gather and you meet friends at the gym rather than gathering and meeting friends.
Run clubs.
Yeah. It's great. It's not going anywhere. And I think with AI, stuff like that coming into play, the human connection piece is even more important because people feel that and they want more of it.
Yeah. What would give me one bit of advice, one bit from each of you for, I guess, younger men starting their fitness journey? Like with everything that you know about the fitness industry, your own journeys, what would the one bit of advice be to a younger male now starting their journey?
2 words: turn up.
Cool. Love that.
Just keep turning up. Consistency. Aim for consistency, not perfection.
Love that. Turn up.
Just ask the question one more time. Sorry, JT.
So with everything that you know in
Yeah.
the fitness industry, everything that you've been through, your own kind of fitness journey, what would your one bit of advice be to a younger male starting their own fitness journey now?
I would say get into a community, run club. Say go and meet a group of friends that you actually go and train and do something with at the gym. I would say do it with other people. That's going to be I think whatever age you're at, whether you're 18 or whether you're at 40, because you as a collective, especially when you're younger, bringing different ideas together, if you're productive with it, is really powerful because you're always going to do more for other people than you'll do for yourself. So if I've got an appointment to meet some friends at 7 p.m. at the gym, I am not going to let them down. I'm not going to be the guy who goes, guys, listen, I'm not going to be able to make it. But if it was me, I'm like, oh, is that extra email I could send or that extra phone call I could jump onto? I'm probably going to be in a position where I have a weak moment and I'll more than happily let myself down. I think getting around other people and making it fun is key.
Yep.
And a bit of competition as well, which is healthy, I think, for guys when it comes to going to the gym.
Yeah,
I think there's
understand
a caveat to add to that.
Yeah. Now, Harry, you mentioned the word perfection a minute ago. I'll ask you one again, like one bit from each of you. What would your advice be to someone who is just constantly chasing perfection in the gym? Let's say, the gym specifically, what would your one bit of advice be to anyone who's just constantly chasing perfection?
To be honest, that used to be me. So I think what I did and what I can say as a bit of advice is just step back, look at the bigger picture, and just assess what you're doing, whether that's social media, whether that's what you're doing in the gym. Just look at the things that aren't really serving you anymore, whether that's liking or watching someone's post that they've done or someone that you've been following, and just realize if it's actually right for you doing that, because it's subconsciously probably getting in your head that you're not looking like this guy or that guy. So just take a step back and just see what's serving you probably at the moment, whether that's online or who you're surrounding yourself with. That's probably what I would say.
Cool. Love that.
Could you ask me the question again, mate? Sorry. I'm not
What would
good at retaining
your one bit of advice be to the person who is constantly chasing perfection in the gym?
I think depending on how they react, depending on how they react to not achieving the perfection, I think it could be a good thing too. I know for me, when I just think about myself, I don't aim for perfection, but I think the same word applies when you look at like striving for the best that you can be. Mm-hmm. And I would almost argue that those two words kind of go hand in hand. So I would say it's got some benefits to it, and you could get to the point where you're borderline obsessed, but I also think I found a healthy balance of it, so I know other people can as well. Yeah. So when I have challenges and when I'm striving for perfection, because when I think about the half marathon, the sub-hour and a half, I'm striving for perfection with that, because I have to be perfect with every interval. If I hadn't hit it, I wouldn't be disappointed because I gave 110%. So I think it's that being okay with not hitting 100% of the goals that you achieve. And if anything, if you're hitting 50, 60% of them, you probably set some good targets there, because you're a whole lot further forward than you would have been if you were just set for something that was comfortable.
Love that.
So I like it.
Awesome. Gents, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate
you.
that.
No worries.
That's great.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Stress, burnout, low motivation. They hit more men than most admit. Today, Sam and Tom open up about the real impact of stress and mental health, how it shows up daily in life, and the tools that help them reset, recover, and get back on track. Gents, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
How are we?
Pleasure to be here.
All good.
All good,
I think
mate.
it's your second. Was it second round? I'm all right, mate. Thank you very much. Second round on the sofa.
For me, yeah, about a year ago today, as it goes.
It was
yeah,
actually.
It was.
It was indeed. Sam,
Yeah.
for you as well.
First time on the sofa, second time on the podcast.
True. You was at Pearly.
It was Pearly, very chilly back then.
It was.
Got the heating on in here.
Absolutely. So quite a sensitive subject, mental health. Okay. When we think about, when you two think about men's mental health, what is the biggest challenge that you see right now?
I think we're getting better at talking about it. I think we're getting better at understanding it and processing it. I think we lack on the ability to act on it. I think I think it's a great thing we're talking about it more, but I think in terms of the action points needed to take us to the next step of overcoming is probably a big word, but kind of helping ourselves can be challenging. That could be through financial challenges, reality of life challenges, opportunities. So I think the biggest challenge right now is identifying it's great, but then how do you overcome it is, I think, the biggest challenge we're looking at right now.
Mm-hmm. Go on, Tom.
I think Sam's spot on. I think it starts with a conversation. I think it starts with checking in. Somebody goes quiet, somebody's, you feel energy shift, someone changes. It just starts with a conversation and checking in and genuinely meaning it as well. I think is a very good starting point to being a bit more open. And I think we are getting there, but as men, typically don't like to talk about what's going on inside our minds. So yeah, you need to talk, you need to check in on your friends, loved ones, and make sure that they're okay.
What would you say the kind of telltale signs are when stress gets a bit much? Maybe we start to make that shift into more of a negative headspace. What are the telltale signs for you personally that you start to feel or sense? How do they display?
I would say I take on more, probably, as a bit of a deflection tactic. So you take on more work, you train harder, you make life tougher in a sense, because sometimes it can be easier than trying to deal with the thing potentially that you're trying to deal with. So I kind of immerse myself in things, which I'm trying to recognise now that if I sense myself getting a bit busier, I'm like, and I also think sometimes you're not always trying to escape from necessarily bad things. It just be, you are just a bit tired, you're a bit overworked, and you're a bit stressed with just everyday stuff that happens. And yeah, that's the kind of thing. I try and then make myself busier because that feeling becomes a bit more normal, and then I have to check myself to actually hang on a sec. Like I'm putting a lot in the diary right now. Is that like have a little kind of rejig?
So distraction techniques. Yeah, cool. Tom, what about you?
Yeah, I'm quite similar. I think the training side of things, you can always feel stress coming on. You can feel the burnout starting to creep up. Your mind, for me personally, my mind doesn't stop. It's 100 mile an hour every day. So many thoughts. You'd be thinking 5 different things at the same time. Distraction with tasks and all the rest of it. So for me, it's quiet in your mind is where it starts, to be able to allow your body to feel rest, allow your mind to feel rest, and being able to communicate, do your tasks, do your work, spend time with loved ones, and it starts with your mind. I think that's a good starting block.
Are there any other kind of specific tools that you use to, like when you feel that shift, when you feel those things start to creep in?
Yeah, I'm as you well know, I do practice meditation. Sometimes I'm very good with it on a weekly basis. Other times, I wouldn't do it for 3-4 days, and I notice the shift in my energy, in the stress, the burnouts that start to creep up on me. So if I can focus on my breath work, training, as Sam said, when you keep busy, you're not thinking about other things. So exercise is important, being outside is important. I use sauna quite a lot. If your mind's not thinking about other things, we're too far in the future, we're thinking about the past, and you're so far gone from the present moment, is when you start to get in a spiral. But if you can control that, quiet your mind down, and actually just take a breath and feel exactly where you are today, whether it's a conversation, whether it's work or being there for somebody, you can be fully present. So for me, I've practiced meditation for the last sort of 3 or 4 years to combat all of my anxiety and my mind just constantly going 24/7, and it's exhausting, it's tiring. So yeah, that's how it helps me.
And Sam, I'm going to come to you in a second, but Tom, just on that, when you say meditation, you haven't got to go through the ins and outs of what it is that you do, but what is a meditative, can't say that word, practice? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, for me, it's as simple as can be 5 minutes, it can be 10 minutes. You know, no phones. You know, meditation's not all woo-woo, sit down and you preach affirmations. You know, it is focusing on being present. That moment, what you're doing, feeling your bum on the chair or wiggling your feet in your socks or touching your fingertips. You're not thinking about anything else other than that. You know, anxiety is caused from thinking about the future of stuff that's not even happened. You're thinking about the past that's already gone. You're never getting it back. Just be present. So it's a variety of different things, and it can mean a load of things. But for me, it's focusing on what you're doing in that second, in that moment, to bring you back, and be at peace. So, yeah.
Nice. What about you then, Sam?
I think for me, it's I try to clear the diary a little bit. Like it's kind of just I'll go all these things, and I'm a bit of a, especially coming up to Christmas now as well. We've got a week. I'll look at my weekend up. I sent to Tom the other week, and like just need to clear the diary out a little bit because it's just weekend booked up. So it's just trying to restore a bit of calmness in my brain by trying to just alleviate some stuff from the diaries. Probably my big thing at the beginning. Just try and be a bit more disciplined with what I say yes to. And it doesn't necessarily mean I need to cancel everything. It's just like, actually, do I need to do the whole of this, or how can I make it work to be a bit less intense in terms of activity-wise, so I can still sort of see people I want to, but rather than having like a big get-together, it's like, oh, let's go for a walk, because I personally find walking a bit more relaxing, rather than going to like, say, like a dinner or something like that with a friend, let's go for a walk around the park, and just trying to find more stress-free environments to spend my time in, basically. A bit more kind of, a bit like Tom, I suppose, different form of meditation, but I like walking.
Yeah.
Bit of time myself as well, I find could be quite helpful.
Yeah, that makes sense. Tom, I think you mentioned earlier, Tom, it's as simple as having a conversation. But why are we so bad at it as men? We can't really talk, or we don't talk enough about, being stressed, feeling overwhelmed. And I agree to Sam's point earlier, we're getting better at it. But you say it's as simple as a conversation. But why is it not as simple as a conversation sometimes, do you think?
That's a lot of things. Life gets busy, to check in with people, whether you should with your loved ones, your family members, and conversation can be tough because, being honest, in today's world is difficult. Fear of being judged, fear of somebody thinking you're weak. All these things come to mind when you think of just having a general chat. When you check in, when you see if someone's okay, mean it, be intentional behind it, and it's not like you're pestering them, but you're letting them know that you're there. And I think that's a massive thing in actually making them feel comfortable opening up to you. So it's a two-way street, but if you notice someone's gone quiet, if you've noticed somebody isn't themselves of late, whether Sam was saying the stress, the work, the burnout creeps up, and your thoughts are going 100 mile an hour, and somebody's falling into a different mindset, their energy's off, go and check in with them and be intentional, do something kind, do something that's gonna help them and take away a bit of their stress. But it is a two-way thing, and it's incredibly difficult today to be open.
I think as well, just jumping on that, you don't just wake up and go, I'm having a bad mental health day, necessarily. Sometimes you can be in a pattern for a couple of weeks where you're like, oh, and suddenly you look back and like, oh, well, that's been a tough 2 weeks. And you kind of go, oh, wow, that was big. That was stressful. But I think we live a very busy life now where almost you don't have time to maybe think about the stress you're under, and that stress becomes normal. So actually, we talk about high functioning stress and stuff like that, and sometimes we need that stress to kind of like keep going, I guess. And so you don't necessarily go, oh, I'm struggling right now. It may well be, oh my God, that was a big 2 weeks. I need to process it. So I think we sometimes don't appreciate the state we're in currently when we're in it, and it kind of almost takes a bit of self-reflection when said event's done, when said moment's done that's causing said stress.
So you both raise really interesting points there, and I guess the overarching theme is that sometimes it happens before we've even realised it. We're too far down the line. Time is a constraint. We're like, I ain't got time to do this, I ain't got time to do that. How can we start setting better boundaries around lifestyle, work, etc., to then maybe give ourselves a little bit more time here and there to actually stop and think?
I think having them in the first place.
Yeah.
I think it's very easy to kind of, if you haven't got things in place, you don't know what things trigger stuff. You don't know when things are too busy, and we stack our plate up. It's like when you're eating food, isn't it? You stack your plate up high, and then you go, oh, I'm not going to eat all that. and then you're kind of like overwhelming yourself. Whereas it's kind of knowing what your triggers maybe are, like at what point on reflection things started to get a bit overwhelming, and then you go, well, actually, I can do, say, 3 hours of gym a week. 5 for me is when I start to get into a bit of a bad habit because I'm getting a little bit switched on with that. So I know 3 for me is a bit of a baseline, for example, and there's other things, like Tom's saying, if he doesn't do his meditation, he notices changes. So it's kind of factoring in boundaries themselves so you know what they are. So when you're trying to enforce them, you know what there is to enforce. I think that's a big thing there. Until you do it, you don't know what you don't know a bit at the same time.
So I guess what you're saying there is there's creating an awareness, number one. But Tom, what about, I guess even when we look at the diary, like your diary's crazy. Like how do you start to put things in place in a diary, day to day, hour by hour, week by week, month by month, year by year, to actually start creating more time and space?
Yeah, Sam said it's making that time, and for me a big one is compartmentalising tasks, things to do, so they don't get overwhelming. Anyone that knows me knows I'm absolutely shocking at replying. Okay, everyone knows that.
Still waiting for a text back.
Exactly, yeah, still waiting for a text. But for me, it's like if I set a time in my day to do a specific thing, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever that is, to do that one thing, the task doesn't become this huge thing and I get distracted. You've compartmentalised it, you've condensed it down to that time, and you focus on that one thing for 15 minutes. That's not going to take you that whole day of overthinking, becoming paralysed. You beat yourself up for not ticking these tasks off for the day. So it's setting that time to find and make sure that you have space in your brain, you've got bandwidth. I'm sure you guys do, being coaches as well, me being in sales, we have hundreds of conversations every day with people, and it's exhausting. So I think you need to put that time in your diary. Like Monday to Friday can be a bit more difficult. What are you doing outside of work? Sports, being with family, friends, loved ones, partners, having, engaging conversations, being present. If you're sitting at the dinner table, don't get your phone out. If you're talking to your partner, you're just with them. If you're eating food, just eat your food. If you're watching something, just watch something. Put the phone away. So you need to make time for it. And that is difficult when you're so busy, but even if it's an hour a day, 20 minutes a day, go and do it.
I think as well, if people don't know your boundaries as well, they don't know, they'd be a bit more willing, I think, to someone, if say I'll get sent an email and you don't realise, and they don't know how busy you are, and you're like, oh my God, another email, and then suddenly it's a panic. And if I said, I'm really sorry, I've got a lot on today, can I get back to you tomorrow? They're probably 9 times out of 10 like, yeah, that's fine. And if they were to hear that you were overwhelmed by that, we'll probably feel quite bad. So if people don't know, people don't know what people don't know about other people. And if you don't explain that to people, they can't be expected to know inside your head as well. And I think generally it sounds quite daunting when you've not set the boundaries before, because it's slightly uncharted territory. Whereas everyone's a human being at the end of the day. Everyone gets stressed, everyone gets that. And people are very understanding generally. I know some scenarios are a bit different where you haven't got as much luxury of boundaries, but I think as long as someone knows about them, you can leave a bit more in place to try and set them.
Yeah, agreed.
Just adding to that, we're all human. We've always got a fear of letting people down. You don't want to let people down if you're not well, or if you're having an off day. You've got to put on that face and show up as your best self for somebody else. But you come away from that, and it's knackered you out. But taking that time for yourself and setting boundaries, as Sam said, is so important. It's so important.
Yeah, completely. What would you say is the best way of dealing with, let's say, a friend or a colleague who is clearly struggling with whatever it could be, stress, emotions, mental health, whatever? How do you go about that? They're not talking about it. There's clearly signs there, whether they've seen it or not, you have. How would you approach that situation? Either maybe it's something you've done in the past, but what is the best way, would you say?
I think there's 2 ways to look at you in terms of from your perspective and their perspective. And from your perspective, you want to go and help out as quickly as you can because you don't want to see your friend, colleague, husband, wife, whatever, in a bad way. But I found, so I went to therapy myself, and the first time I went, it was quite reactive to a bit of a breakdown I had, and I wasn't really ready to talk about things at that point. And then literally probably 2-3 years later, I was kind of ready to and got more out of it. So I'm personally a believer in it's got to come from the person without not wishing to intervene if there needs to be an intervention. But I think it's kind of giving them the space to come to you, sort of saying, I understand things are hard at the moment. I don't want to press you to tell me right now, because that in itself can be quite overwhelming. But I think just letting them know that you're there when they're ready to talk as well, that can in itself be quite a big uplifting, like, oh, someone's noticed. Because sometimes you think you're hiding it quite well and no one knows this struggle I'm in, but things will slip up, and there will be moments when you're looking tired, your face shows everything, you think you're hiding it, but you're not. So I think giving them the space to do it, but then also being respectful of what may work for them. If there's something you could do to make their life a little bit easier that doesn't need a conversation, like if you see someone struggling and there's a task you could quite easily do, kind of jumping in on that and just to relieve the load like that, I think could be quite effective.
Yeah, I think just adding to that, and I think I've said this before, you can see a cut, you can see, you know, a graze and things like that, but you cannot see what's inside somebody's head. Whether they put the face on, whether they don't, and Sam is right. When someone feels ready to talk, you know, that's a good time for you to let them know that, you know, you're going to be there to support them. It's difficult if they're not ready and you aren't understanding, and you don't want to feel like you're pestering them, but at the same time, they just need to know that you have got their back. Yeah. And you know, there's the kindness there, the support, the love's there, just by checking in and actually genuinely asking, "Are you okay? Mm-hmm. Like, is everything all right?" And if they're ready to talk, they'll talk, and if not, you leave them be, and then, you know, you check in again, but make sure that it's intentional and you mean it, because you can't see what's inside their head.
Completely.
So important.
So one last thing from each of you. There was one small action that every man could implement today for better mental health. What do you think it should be?
For me, it's having a hobby. So
Great shout.
I think literally nothing more complicated than having a hobby. For me, I really struggle with having a thing to do that was not like work. So obviously we work in gym, so gym was a big thing. Just having something else. So for me, it's cycling probably. Having like something to work on outside, something to lose yourself with. I think it gives you purpose. It enables you to meet people with the same hobbies as well, potentially, and gives you that. Sometimes we need a bit of a distraction. It doesn't need to be as deep as like chatting or that, but just sometimes you need that afternoon to yourself just to do something you enjoy, just to give you that little bit of something, escapism. Yeah, for me, a hobby, for sure.
Love that. Tom?
I would say, Sam says have a hobby. First one I'd say is better mental health. Put down the phone. It's a huge one. You know, it adds to everything. I was speaking about my mind going 100 mile an hour. You know, stop scrolling, stop texting, talk to people. You know, have a conversation. Get outside. Go and do something that is going to make you feel as present as possible. That is going to alleviate stress. Everyone's got a dip. Sam's is, you know, hobby, training, exercise, all these great things. So find that one thing that's going to alleviate stress out of your head, you know, and make you think clearer to be more present, and getting rid of the phone. I'm not saying don't use the phone, but limit the time that you are on it. If you're not being productive and your mind's spiraling and you can't think straight, you're in a mental fog and these things, your brain is just too overstimulated. So just get back to a good baseline of being able to think clear and being present is what I would say is so. I think that's crucial to good mental health.
Yeah, no, and just jumping on the back of that as well, I think it's when you make a change, it will feel a bit weird. And I think it's quite easy at that, say like cutting out sugar, I have a lot of sugar, and it's like when you don't have that sugary thing, your body's asking for it, it wants it, and actually you give it to it because that's what it wants. But actually if you want to see the change, you be a bit comfortable with it feeling a bit different, and you don't just get, like you say, changes will feel odd. Like putting your phone down for an hour before bed will probably feel like an absolute lifetime. But if you can get through that little bit and then that hour becomes quite normal, it makes the payoffs are immeasurable.
Yeah, agreed.
Yes, to add to that, do what makes you feel better and start to limit the things that make you feel worse. Yeah. You know, scrolling on your phone for 2 hours, you are going to feel like shit. Excuse my French, but like, you're not going to feel great. If you're going out for a walk, you're having a conversation, we're sitting down like this, you are going to feel better afterwards. Yeah. So it's just being aware of it and then implementing it and actually taking action.
Love that.
So yeah.
Amazing. Gents, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate
it.
It's amazing. Training hard is great, but training for life is even better. Today, Kasim and Dylan join me to talk about how movement evolves as life changes and how consistency, not intensity, is the real key to long-term health. Gents, how are we?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah?
Back on the
Good, thank you.
Back on the sofa?
Back on the sofa, yeah.
There was this number 3 you were saying.
Number
I heard you
3,
say just a minute
number
ago.
3, time's flying.
Time's flying. Cass, what about you?
I think it might be 4, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, maybe. Yeah, 4. Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4. Yeah.
Mate, it's 4 or 5. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's getting there. It's getting there. So, fellas, we're talking about longevity when it comes to training. I guess the first thing is
Why you picked the two of us. You trying to say old and young. I said to her, I was like, what are you trying to say? You trying to say...
Nah, you're young.
Okay, thank you. I
no, you're
appreciate
both
that.
just young.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Young.
Appreciate that.
Do you know what? Actually, so the reason I'll tell you why.
Okay, go on.
Because when I think about you two, and when I think about training, I think lift heavy, like gymnastics, weightlifting, and they probably actually aren't the things that I would necessarily go to when I think about longevity. So actually, I think it's really interesting to, although you do those things, have a perspective of longevity as well.
Yep.
So I guess let's start with that. What does training for longevity mean to each of you?
I would say for me, I think I would like to get to the point where I'm running around with my grandkids at some point and being able to absolutely smoke them in a race at the age of 60, 70, however long it may be. I think it's also like a quality of life. I want to make sure I'm able to get up by myself, be independent, and not having to rely on others. I think there's a lot that comes with that, and if I'm able to do that for a long period of time, then I think I'm set.
Yeah, same, actually. I think it's being able, I think I've seen people who at a late stage of life aren't as mobile as they were. And you speak to them and they're like, I used to be able to run. Do you know what I mean? You hear those conversations. I remember when I used to run and stuff like that. I'm like, damn. I never want to get to that point, or where I look back and think, I'm probably not going to be able to lift as heavy as I did whenever, but I never want to get to the point where I'm like, I remember when I could do this and now I can't do that. So for me, that's, training for longevity is still being able to do the activities, not to the same intensity or, same volume, but not being able to do it at all. I never want to get to that point.
How do you see your own training methods? How do you see them changing and evolving over time? Because as you mentioned there, it may not necessarily be the movements that change, it's the volume and intensity. Are there any other kind of areas that you think might tweak and change and evolve as you kind of go through and as life changes and demands change?
Yeah, for me, it's going through massive change. I was actually thinking about this yesterday. So before I met my wife, in the gym 6 times a week, easily. Like push, pull, legs, rest, push, pull, legs, rest, push, pull, legs, rest. Sundays even. Whereas when I met her, that dropped. Kids, that dropped. First kid, that dropped. Second kid dropped even more. And now it's like 3 times a week, weights, and then trying to fit the other things around. So it's changed massively from trying to, initially I was volume, trying to do as much as I could. And then the older you grow, and obviously through coaching and stuff, I realized actually training smarter. We talk about, managing that volume and intensity. And just now, my aim is, honestly, is to do the least amount of work possible. So I don't even like spending longer than an hour-ish in the gym. Like I like to try and think, how can I get in here? And your priorities change, like you said. So spending time with the family, going to pick up the kids, those things are not in my mind. So when I'm in the gym, my mind is already thinking about things that I need to do, even with work. So it's how can I get the most bang per buck within the minimum time possible. That's what I think about now.
And do you see that being something that will probably look very similar in another 20 years' time for you?
Probably. I'll probably just be in a sauna. My hope is to finish working out so I can go and chill out in the steam room with a sauna. Yeah. So I don't see me wanting to spend more time in the gym. Obviously, it's great to be around. Like from a social perspective, great, but not working out. I don't think I don't see myself spending more time working out. It's to enjoy other aspects of life, but still keeping that physical component because it's very important.
Yeah. Dills, what about you?
I mean, I don't have all the complications like us. I think for me, definitely I've started to pick up a lot more niggles than I should be at my age, the ripe age of 27. But it's definitely changed from when I was young, being like, I can do anything. I'll just try. Obviously, I started in calisthenics, like muscle ups. I'll just do it. I won't warm up. I could just go in and straight in, go home, sleep, do the same thing the next day. I think there's a lot more thought that goes behind the training, how I warm up, what I'm warming up for, making sure that I prioritize my recovery, my cooling down, even more so now my nutrition, because it's been horrible. The kebabs are definitely getting to me. So I'm definitely in more thought in that way. And I think you have to be, because you have to adapt. You have to adapt. You're never going to be able to do the same thing over and over and over again. So long as you're adapting and making that change to make sure that you're able to keep that intensity and training there, it's a necessity, definitely. Yeah.
What will your reasons be for continuing training long term? Like, is it just health? Is it mental health? Is it just mobility? Like, what are your... Because I would assume, knowing both of you relatively well, that at the age of 70, 80, I think some kind of movement is going to be part of you still. Like, you've instilled that culture. But is it just that it's something now you've always done, therefore you'll continue to do it? Or is there specific reasons, other than, like, say, you want to run around with your grandkids, that kind of stuff, smoking in a race, but is there any other reasons that you really want to tap into that's going to be a staple for you now moving forwards?
Yeah, for me, I think it's that, not de-stressor, maybe de-stressor. I like to think I'm not stressed, but it's that just moment of, it's just me in the gym and just listening to music. So I was listening to music. That's when I really get to listen to new music, because I don't drive that long, and at home I don't really have time to just like blaze up music. So that's the time where I could just listen to like new albums, new music, and kind of just chill out. Obviously, if I do a large group here, it's a good chance just to reconnect with members, just reconnect with people. So I think as I get older, that will stay. But I think my ability to continue to connect with people, and I guess just still keep a foot in, like, see what the fitness industry is like. Yeah. God knows what it'll be like in a couple of years. I remember when I used to do this. But yeah, I think just my ability to want to kind of still see what that feels like will keep me kind of going. So yeah, right now it's for, a goal, or for, just to kind of have that moment. In the future, it'll definitely change to more community. So still finding people around, like-minded people, and just kind of keep my pulse on what's happening in the fitness industry at that time, really.
What about you, Does?
For me, I definitely think from a mental standpoint, it does help it's like a reset. You may be having a really tough week. You may be not sleeping well, but so long as you're in there and getting it done, I think it's just such a big win to yourself that you can take away and think, I've done that no matter what's happening on around me. And you can kind of relate it back once you've done that session. If something does happen later on in the day or in the week, it's like, well, I've done what I was meant to do. I'm still going to stick to my routine, and nothing's going to break that. So I think it's just so important for myself. It's just so important to get in the gym, because if I don't, that's who I am. I've been training since I can't remember when. I've always been in sports. So for me to not do that, I'm kind of doing myself a disservice. So you have to be somewhat selfish, I think. And yeah, for me, it's more of like a mental reset, for sure.
So we've mentioned about how important it is to adapt. And obviously, as time goes on, we have to adapt to certain things, injuries, that kind of stuff. But Cass, I guess for you, and I guess you can give us an insight into Soph as well to a certain extent. Like when Isaiah and Amaya came along, what kind of things had to change specifically to allow not just you, but both of you to continue doing some kind of, movement, getting back on track, nutrition, like gym? What kind of things had to be put in place?
I don't even think we've got enough time for you must get a husband and wife podcast. Oh, man. I think any couple who's been through a change in life can tell you it's challenging. I mean, when I used to speak to people and they're like, change your routine, and I said, you just don't want, and it is a challenge. Even, let me work my way back, just from your kids starting school, that changes the routine. Because whereas in nursery, they were there from, let's say, 8 till 6 p.m. Now they're in school from 8:35 to 3:15. Changed it. So little things just change that routine. But yeah, it's initially, like I said, when we're single, no responsibilities. Go to the gym when you want, eat whatever you want. I used to tell her before I met her, I'd be in bed by like 8:30. Come home, go straight to bed. Obviously now brought that relationship into your life. You spend a bit more time. So that takes an adjustment. Like I said, with the children, you can't just go to the gym when you want. And even when you're in the gym, I remember she'd be messaging me like, "Where are you?" Do you know what I mean? So it changes. It does change a lot, and yeah, that's why I said my approach to training had to change. 'Cause I couldn't be in the gym for 2 hours, and I guess over time it happened that I didn't want to be there for 2 hours anyway. But it had to because I had an hour from when baby went to bed or whatever to go change, to go train and come back. And like I said, when you throw another baby into that mix, it just gets even trickier. But like I said, even TT was great for Soph because obviously giving her that structure where she couldn't get into routine. So this just gave her a structure where she knows, okay, an hour, I'm coming in here, do I need to go back home? So that was great, just keep her routine. Obviously she's done amazingly well, just having that consistent structure and routine. But yeah, that routine is key. I can't even, but like I said, hats off to anyone out there who's had to change routine and keep up because it is a challenge, but communication and having a plan and stuff is vital. Because to get the ball rolling is the hardest bit. But once it starts rolling, then it's easier to just kind of keep the flow. But yeah, man, many, it wasn't easy. She'll tell you that many disagreements, put it that way. But yeah, we're still here. So.
And I guess you can quite easily see how many people get into that situation and fitness goes on the back burner.
100%.
But what was the thing that always kept it prevalent for you though? Is it just that you both held it in such high regard that you made it work?
Yeah, I think one, being around you guys as well. So being around, I think I heard someone say something about being around like people who are in it fitness. So that helps because, someone's always training for something. So even if I have a lull, it's not going to last for long because there's going to be a challenge or something to pick me back up. So that definitely helps. But yeah, like I said, it's something that, like I said, is a part of us. And I guess it's something that we want our kids to see. Like I brought Amaya to the gym the other day. So she goes, yeah, exercising. You know what I mean? So they see it and they understand like exercise and, when we go to the gym. So I think just wanting to pass it on to the kids is something that will always keep that. And like Dylan mentioned, it's just, because it's something that you do. If you don't do it for a long time, you just feel like you're missing something. I'm not even gonna lie, like the aches do come, bro. They come. I don't know when.
Tell me about it.
It's like something just goes boop, and it's just like you wake up like, oh. if you go down the step the wrong way,
That's it, done.
Problem is, I think my first time experiencing that was about 14.
I opened the door today, something went in my forearm. Honestly, it's mad. So because just that fear of not wanting to experience these things.
It's that hybrid athlete lifestyle, mate. I'm telling you.
I couldn't believe it. I literally told someone I opened the door and I felt something in my forearm. But you don't want these things to happen, so you almost have to keep going, bro.
Now there was, you mentioned, okay, you've got different, I guess, barriers and things to overcome than Cass does, but you've been quite open, honest about kind of struggles around asthma, eczema.
Yep.
So it's a different type of thing to overcome, but what kind of things have you put in place there, adaptations to allow you to still keep moving forward?
I think if I touch on the asthma bit first, I haven't actually been the greatest with it recently, and I think it's definitely like an ego thing because I think I don't need it. Because I always think, I'm still the old deals. I can do that. I don't need my. I do that, man. And then when I'm 5 minutes later, I need that. So I think for me, it's understanding that I have what I have. It is what it is. I just got to work around it. And for me to adapt to that, I need to make sure that I'm on time with my medication because at the end of the day, I do not want to be behind on my training because it's just a knock-on effect. If I don't take that, I won't train. If I don't train, my mental is not going to be the same way. If my mental's not the same way, I come in here, I can't be the coach that I want to be to the members. So I just got to make sure that I take that and I don't let it affect me. If it happens, it happens. Sometimes it gets worse. Like currently at the moment, as you probably know with the weather right now, it's hard. Like
for sure.
The rain, it goes stuffy and then it's a bit humid. It's so annoying, but I think if you're able to understand what you have and that it's not the end of the world, you'll be fine. On the eczema standpoint, earlier in the year was hell. It's probably the worst I've ever had my skin because I stopped my steroid creams because they were making me worse. That's another subject. That's another topic. And off the back of that, everything came out. I couldn't take a shower without even wincing. And I had to stop training completely. I don't think I trained for, I think it was around a month and a bit. And then something said to me, I said, you know what? I'm going to train. And if it sweats, I know it's going to sting. It's going to burn like crazy, but I'm going to feel good off the back of it. And I think it's a very, trying to find the right way to word this. If you know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, just persevere. Those dark days when you're going through what you're going through, whether it's eczema, asthma, or something else, there'll always be light at the end of the tunnel, and you have to make sure that you get through it, and just make sure that when you are doing it and you are in that pain, just know that it's going to be better at the end of the day. So with the eczema and the asthma, just juggling those, they are tough, but I've got bigger goals. I know that when I'm working with Amy towards ethics or something, it's not letting her down. I know that, like you said, being around the fitness industry and other fitness professionals, it just gives you that extra edge, the extra buzz to be like, I'm not going to let him surpass me, or I'm not going to let him do better than me, or let him get out of sight. So it's just making sure that it keeps you on point. So when it gets tough, find other external things to kind of pinpoint, and then let that help you get through that struggle.
100%. Cass, coming back to you quickly, you mentioned earlier about your workouts now very much are kind of in that 60 minutes or under territory, yeah?
I try my best.
Yeah, and that's from a managing a volume standpoint. That's also, because just time is a little bit tighter. We need to be expert like different places. How do you manage to reduce volume through time, adaptations? We're thinking longer term as well, but not sacrifice on the progression side of things.
That's a very good question. I think I was speaking to one guy I really admire, Oscar Young, and he was giving this young guy advice about training, right? He was saying something about, he was saying something like, take your time, like honing your craft, like don't rush. And I messaged Oscar and I was like, it's only when you've been through this journey you really understand it. When old people say something to us and we're like, yeah, because they've been through that, so they get it, whereas we still don't see it. And I got what he was saying, because I've been, and if I could go back to myself, I'd tell myself exactly the same thing, like take time, like it will come. But when you're younger, like I said, you just want to bull in the china shop. But looking back at it now, I'm like, okay, yeah. But like you said, it was just consistency of doing like the same movements over time, building my strength to a certain level, so I don't have to do 4 sets to get a stimulus. Like now, certain exercise I do 1 set, and I'm good. But it's also probably just me not wanting to do another one, but because I'm preserving my joints. But honestly, it is just consistency of training. Like I said, having a coach early, I would always say to someone, get some sort of coaching or something initially to accelerates your progress massively. Because I had, like, the coaching I had in the beginning stages eroded any bad habits I could have picked up easily. Because you know how it is, you go to the gym, you just see stuff, you do whatever, you copy what the next person's doing. So that literally nullified all my bad habits. So I've had quite a good base from early, and just continue that. And to the point it is now where if I program for myself, I kind of know what my body likes, what hurts, what doesn't, what feels good, and the amount of volume that I can do, or the reps, that I can do to get what I need from an exercise. So if I look at an exercise, I don't need to do 20, 30 reps. I can do 10. I'm good. It's got anything. But just doing that over time, a period of time, not changing too much stuff, just doing that over a period of time has got me to the point where now, within an hour, I can program a session that gives me what I need from it, and allows me to progress over time.
Yeah, love that. So would you say, obviously, a lot of it is, yes, continuing that progression long term, but actually a lot of it is built here and now, building that almost like that foundation, that resiliency to then deal with all the stuff later on?
It's so important. It is, and again, we always talk about it like, just building that foundation. When we coach here, we encourage our clients, and you see it. Like, again, I could look at a client that 2 years ago, I'm like, wow, and I see them now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and this is because they've been consistent. So again, it's not something that happens overnight, and that's the thing. It's important to remember it. But over time, the proof is in the pudding. Like, it works. It's just being consistent. and just continue to because it's a skill at the end. They will continue to forget that. So the better you get that skill over time, in your later age or wherever, you're able to refine that to suit your needs at that time. So it's very important to learn that skill, whatever it is. But obviously in this case, what exercise.
Can I just add on to that?
Of course.
I think it's also a skill to be patient.
Mm.
There's a lot of times where you want a certain result and you want it now, but it just doesn't work like that. You have to be patient. You have to put the methods in place and trust it that it will work. So if you can be patient and just trust the process and do what you're meant to do, it will come.
Always.
I'd love to hear one or maybe 2 points from each of you around, are there any simple, repeatable habits that you both do day to day and rely on to be consistent?
I think the most obvious one is set my alarm to wake up.
Yeah.
I think we overlook the things that we already do unconsciously on a day-to-day basis. Set your alarm, wake up, obviously brush your teeth. I hope everyone's brushing their teeth. Making your food, making sure you're having 3 meals a day if you can. Just the basics, like solidify that, because if you can get into a routine, adding something to that routine, it won't be as hard as you think.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think one thing you mentioned, and I know JT mentioned in one of the summits a while ago, is having that stretch goal.
Yeah.
I do think, because it can be hard to be consistent all the time. I'm not gonna lie, there's certain times I'll dip in and dip out, but over time I'm consistent because there is always a stretch goal. So like last year, it was a half marathon. So even when I dip for a while, I have to pick something up because of the half marathon. January is ethics. So even though Christmas is a time where, routine changes, you know how it goes around. But consistency will have to be there because I've got that stretch goal. And then after ethics, then it'll be another. There's always something that spreads past 12 weeks. Then that way, I always have to at least think. I can't let things slip too much because I can have maybe like 1 or 2 weeks off, but it will never dip into like 3-4 months because there is something that I need to focus on towards the end. And then the long-term stretch goal, like you said, is like family, like we spoke about, that's the long-term stretch goal. It's like, my kids and, still looking strong and healthy as they grow up and being something that they look to. So that's always going to be the back of my mind. So I guess that will always keep me consistent. But I think having a stretch goal helps massively because it'll mean that even though you might fall off because life happens, it is what it is, you'll get back on because you've got that thing that, okay, I need to fix up because I'm aiming for this long term, etc.
For me as well, what helps is having someone to hold me accountable in terms of, right, I know me and Amy have signed up to a couple of stuff, but I know if I drop it, I'm going to let Amy down and I'm not going to be able to do the same things I want to do. And she might not look at me as a partner, but like, nah, mate, you're not cut out for this. So get someone who's on the same wavelength as you, who has tried to, I guess, match lifestyles in a way. Like if you know another dad that's got 2 kids and is trying to get into the gym as well, like have a chat, like liaise with each other, see what you two do. Maybe if you do something different or something that may work, tell it. So definitely find someone that can hold you accountable just to keep you pushing through.
Love that. And then last bit, again, just from one thing from each of you. If someone listening to this right now feels stuck, what is the one thing that you would say, start with this to get them unstuck? With their training, with lifestyle, anything that they're stuck with. When we think about training for longevity, could be a mindset, could be anything. Like, what's the one thing that you think, like, turn your attention to that, think about that, do that, and actually it's going to start to move that needle forward for you and you're going to start to feel unstuck?
One thing.
Pressure.
I was going to say 2. Okay. Okay. I think this one thing will kind of lead into some of the things that I was going to say, but I think I do believe having that stretch goal. Cause I was going to say, getting a coach, get whatever, but the thing is, if you get a coach, they're going to ask you what your goal is, and if you don't know what that is, then it's pointless. So I think having that stretch goal, and again, this is something most people might have already. Again, it doesn't need to be big. Like some people might just, like I said, they want to feel confident taking the top off. Some people, they just want to, be able to carry their kids, whatever it is. I think if it's something that means something to you, like it can be whatever it is, it's different people. But if you can attach onto that and think, okay, yeah, this is important enough for me, or this is something that I feel, good about, that will kind of lead you into making decisions that will be more positive than what you're doing anyway. So I think having a goal that means something to you, and ideally something that is a bit of a stretch goal. But yeah, I would start with that, because, even if you need to sit down and write it down, because then I'll kind of give you guidance on making the right adjustments and the right steps.
Nice. Dills, what about you?
For me, it's just start. A session at 50% when you're not feeling great is still a session. Yes, your nutrition might not be as on point, but you've made a start to it. And I feel if you just don't start, nothing's going to happen. Make the start, and off the back of what Cass said, write everything down. I know me and you, you did a really good thing with me when we had our one-to-one last year. It was like big rocks. I can't remember now. Big rocks,
Pebbles, sand, yeah.
Sand. What's the big ones that you want? What's the pebbles that are kind of leading into that rock? And then kind of get the sand bits out the way quickly. And then once you do that and once you get on the roll, oh my gosh, it just goes.
Yeah.
Like you'll get there quicker than you think as well. So just start.
Love that. Awesome. Gents, thank you very much for your time.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
And thank you to the entire team for taking their time to kind of talk and share. Thank you very much to Hannah as well for putting this whole thing together. And thank you very much to you basically for listening. And I hope it's helpful. We truly hope it's helpful. And what we'd love is for you to, number one, share this with someone who you think actually could benefit from it. And then secondly, in the comments, actually let us know what your biggest takeaway was. It helps us, and hopefully it will help someone else. And we'll see you again very, very soon for the next one.